Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles Sabansi, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things. And now we see them. And today we got a hell of a show for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is CTABANZ. Make sure you follow the channel. Same name channel, Dreamerspro, and check out our podcast that we have pinned in the comments below. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. So it seems like JJ Redick has been making a lot of headlines over the last 2 or 3 days now. It really kicked off after his comments on his former head coach when he was a Los Angeles Clippers and Doc Rivers, where he called him out on ESPN First Take because he was essentially saying that Doc Rivers is allergic to taking responsibilities for his own screw-ups. So we had that. Then his son responded to him on a later show later that evening, responded to JJ Redick. So what happened yesterday? JJ Redick visits ESPN First Take. And it seems like JJ already has, like, his predisposition is, I'm angry, I'm here to fight, and I'm going to be having a screw face. Also, I got to ask, why JJ Redick, you go on these shows, you're always ready to fight somebody with the screw face? People are trying to make it lighthearted, you up there ice grilling and type for what? He's not the only one. There are people like, I can't stand these dudes. Like, oh, so we're going to think you're more serious, or more of a serious person if you walk around with a serious face, so therefore we think you're like, cut it out, bro. Like, relax. Like, you can smile. It's okay. Nothing's going to happen if you smile, right? You're not going to be less manly or nothing like that. Like, come on, what is this? But anyway, he was on there, and they're having this conversation. They were reacting to the things that Kevin Durant was talking about in terms of his leadership. And they were really discussing Kevin Durant's leadership. So initially, Stephen A. Smith went first. Then followed by him, Chris Mad Dog Russo followed after him. And when Mad Dog was talking, I didn't think he was saying anything that was offensive or anything like that. But they were showing JJ Redick's face, and he seemed to be visibly upset because he disagreed. And then when it came time for JJ Redick to respond, he went off essentially on this rant of the way sports media is being covered, how he doesn't like it. Why is it that these salacious hot takes are the things that get people clicking and get people talking? But if you talk about the X and O's of basketball, no one really wants to listen to that. So he started going off on that tangent there. And then what happened? I tuned into The Odd Couple yesterday, one of my favorite shows featuring Chris Broussard and Rob Parker. And Rob Parker has been on like this, I don't give a F kind of stuff. Like, he's calling everything left. He's calling things out left and right. He recently went at Adam Silver, calling him the worst commissioner in the history in the NBA in sports right now. And then yesterday, he was reacting to the comments that JJ Redick made on ESPN First Take. And during his monologue, man, he really went off on JJ Redick because he felt like JJ doesn't seem to understand the space that he is operating within, right? And he really expanded on his thoughts, and even a caller called in and brought in some very, very sound points that we're going to play for you guys as well. And we're also going to include the part where JJ Redick essentially called out the media at large and for the way that they consume content. So for those of you who didn't hear that exchange, we want to play it for you now, and then we're going to come back and react to everything that was said. So take a listen to what Rob Parker had to say here.
Since when is it players' jobs to educate people on basketball? When did that become a thing? Isn't that our job?
I'll answer.
I view that as my job. That's my job to educate people on basketball.
I'm letting you speak, and then I'll answer.
It's our job, Stephen A., to educate people on basketball. It's our job. And here's the reality. This is the ecosystem we live in. I can do a video on my podcast. Where I break down the last 9 games the Pelicans have used Zion Williamson as the primary ball handler and what type of actions that has led to. I looked it up this morning. 54,000 views on YouTube. But I want to call out a coach yesterday. Oh, that gets tens of millions of engagements. That's the ecosystem we live in. So do fans actually want to be educated or not? Mm-hmm. Do they?
No, JJ Redick, what don't you understand? All that coach speak and all this other stuff, people don't want to hear that. That's what coaches are into, Chris. How many times have we watched Charles Barkley, Chris? Is he breaking down the game?
Never.
He don't even know half the players who are playing. Come on. But they want to hear what Charles has to say about the other stuff. Yep. JJ, come on, man. Is this on? You know what? Break it down on a basketball game. Tell me about the screen and tell me about that in a game. But that's not what people tune in for. They want people's takes. What do you think of this? Did you like the All-Star game? Didn't you like the All-Star game? Not any kind of technical mumbo-jumbo. Nobody wants to hear that. That's you trying to flex your muscles and tell us how smart you are with basketball. Chris, he's just missed the boat. He doesn't understand. It's not just that people want you to rip people or whatever, and that's the only thing they care about. It's about your take on stuff, good, bad, or indifferent. That's what you're up there for. He's asking Stephen A. Not technical and all that other stuff. There's a time and place for that. Those geeks, Chris, and those nerds who like that stuff, there's plenty of places for them to find
those analytics guys, right?
Last year,
full of it.
We went at him, and Chris, I think you'll remember when he basically told Laker fans to give up on the season. You remember when the Lakers got off to a bad start, and we were like, What do you mean give up 10 games in? Yeah, this should just be about LeBron, or blah, 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 blah. And guess what? The Lakers went, went to the Western Conference Finals.
But you know what? So he was wrong. So
no,
what?
I didn't
you
say
wrong.
that.
I'm wrong. He made a take, though. That's the thing. That was a take. That wasn't no analysis. That wasn't no breakdown. He had a take, turned out to be wrong, but he's doing the same thing we all doing.
Right. And my point is that it is about takes, and if he doesn't feel comfortable with doing takes, you need to get off that show. It's just that simple.
Right.
You can't sit there across from Stephen A. and talk about this is BS, like this show and what we do is BS. If I'm Stephen A., I would have said, you know what, dude, then maybe you shouldn't be on the show. Steve, I mean, if you really are bothered by what it is that we do here, because this is what we do. And the last time I looked at the ratings and looked at how many viewers we get, it's way more than these other shows. What's up, Kev?
God is good. Wonderful Worship Wednesday, fellas. How you doing?
Yes, definitely.
Look, the hot take culture was started with shows I grew up watching, sports reporters. And, I had a show that I had, Kids Talk Sports. We auditioned. They said, talk about a topic. We all have to talk about that topic. So it's a very ignorant take. It's uninformed. Yeah, it shows like Pardon the Interruption that I watched you guys on with Wilbon and Kornheiser. And you had guys who made their careers off of hot takes. Jason Whitlock. You got guys like Skip Bayless. You got athletes who are hot take artists like LaShawn McCoy, Draymond Green. They've watched the hot take culture and they've made a career off of it. So what he's saying, he's looking at his peers. Paul Pierce was a hot take guy, just saying hot take takes. So it's an ignorant, uninformed take. Look at your peers. They're making a career in podcasts off of that. This is the new format in media. It's so uninformed, and it's a lazy take, and it makes no sense.
So you heard what Rob Parker had to say. I'm going to react to what he had to say and what that caller had to say. I think Rob was annoyed with JJ Redick because, number one, he seems whiny, and number two, because JJ Redick has this reluctance to take a position on things. If you listen to JJ Redick talk about various things, for instance, on ESPN, he seldom takes a strong position on anything, and whenever he does, he usually produces a bad take. You can go back to his Larry Bird comments. You can go back to his Bob Cousy comments. If JJ Redick was so sound at discussing basketball, why did you have some of the greatest players to ever play the sport, like Dominique Wilkins, Michael Cooper, Jerry West, Larry Bird? I think, did Larry Bird call him out? I'm not sure Larry Bird, but Bob Cousy and all these other guys came out and called JJ Redick out. Why? These are all top 75 guys, Hall of Famers, all of that. They all called him out. Why? Because Dominique Wilkins and all of that. When JJ Redick said that the game in the 80s and the 90s wasn't that physical. This was the same JJ Redick that said it. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to something. Those sound bites and those comments that he made definitely benefited JJ Redick's podcast. Number one. Number two, I want to get to the larger point that Rob Parker brought up, and I want to use that as a linchpin to just kind of go to my next point. He spoke about JJ going on ESPN First Take. Let me make something crystal clear to you. Before JJ Redick got to ESPN, we did a show. You can go look it up in our archives, speaking about our excitement for JJ Redick to get an opportunity to work at ESPN. We did that. But then when he got there, I quickly found out that this guy is pro player to a nauseating extent. JJ Redick went on ESPN. His podcast was doing certain numbers. He gets to ESPN, and his podcast gets a significant boost. Why? Because whenever he had a blow up with Stephen A. Smith, whenever he would say this thing, whenever he would say that thing, it would contribute to the success of his individual show. Make no mistake, anybody that has a podcast and you see them on ESPN First Take, they're also using that platforms as a means to promote their show. So, to the point of JJ now questioning, why do we cover sports in the fashion that we do? Why is ESPN First Take and all these shows like this? The question you need to ask yourself is, what research did you do on ESPN First Take before you got there? Because that's always been what ESPN has been about. Hot takes, talking about what's happening, and not really the X's and O's. Who doesn't know this? So for JJ to come to this, to have this epiphany and say, I don't understand what this is all about. And like, bro, what are you talking? Don't play the victim when you directly benefit from being on ESPN First Take. If you felt this way about the show and its direction and all of that stuff, why have you constantly been attending that show, making appearances on that show? From the best of my knowledge, JJ Redick is invited on the show by Stephen A. Smith because he's the head honcho of that show. Why do you go? Why don't you just say, I don't want to be a part of this circus and I'm not going to go? Because you know you're fully aware of everything that comes with the success of First Take and how it can impact your brand. Who are we kidding here? Who are we kidding? That's number one. Number two, I want to get to the point that the caller brought up about hot takes and all of that stuff. And the person I thought of immediately after he said that was Gilbert Arenas. Sports media now has turned into hot takes. Athletes are doing it left and right. Gilbert Arenas' new thing is, Michael Jordan. I mean, is Michael Jordan ever that good? Is he really that good? And LeBron, blah, blah, blah. You bring in views and clicks. Hot takes after hot takes after hot takes after hot takes. Athletes are doing the very thing that you are complaining about journalists doing. They do the very same thing. They do the very same thing. Now, in terms of people not being interested in, let me say, the X's and O's of basketball, first of all, let's just break it down to a molecular level here. You got to look at the audience and you got to look at your consumer. All right. You have kids that follow the NBA on social media and all of that stuff. But generally, the people that watch the NBA are people that can afford to pay to watch the NBA. I want you to follow this. And the people that pay to watch the NBA usually are using some of their disposable income to watch the games on TV by paying for the TV packages or going to the games to go sit down at those games. Now, all those people that you see attending those games, minus the kids, are not jobless. They have jobs, which means that a lot of these people have lives outside of just watching the NBA. So when they watch the NBA, attend a basketball game, what are they going there for? They're going there for the entertainment value. They're not going there to sit through a lecture of the X's and O's of basketball and who bounced the first ball in this particular year and who did that. People are not interested in that. People want things summarized and they want things to be interesting and fun and entertainment. Nobody wants to attend basketball school when they tune in to watch the NBA. We're looking for an escape and usually for some form of entertainment. The same reason you go to a movie. If a movie gets a little bit too heavy and all of that, the most I can do is 2 hours. But if you expect me to do it every single day, you're not serious. JJ Redick is fully aware of all of this. All of this. It's a human behavior going all the way back to the days of the gladiators. People like to be entertained with the big stories and the big drama. That's how it's always been. That's been the nature of human beings for whatever reason. For whatever reason. So for JJ to go on ESPN First Take and make those comments about Doc Rivers the way that he did, if you're telling me that he was unaware of the reaction that he was going to get, I don't believe him. But the part I just want to make crystal clear: when did JJ Redick become the authority on how media, sports media, is supposed to be conducted? When did that become a thing? Why is it that we have to listen to JJ Redick basically dictate to us how we should conduct sports media? Why did that, when did he become the golden standard? JJ Redick is a person discussing sports from the vantage point of an athlete, giving his views and opinions. But he likes to get into this thing where he's didactic and trying to basically dictate to people how they should do things. That's awfully arrogant of you. That's awfully, awfully arrogant of you. Why do we need to sit up here and conduct ourselves based on the JJ Redick method of doing things? Why do we need to do that? He seems very condescending, and he seems like as if he's lecturing people half of the time. Is JJ Redick, okay. I think there's a misconception that exists out there in sports media. For whatever reason, I don't know why some athletes conduct themselves this way. Just because you know more about a sport that maybe the average viewer is not as versed in as you are, doesn't mean that these people are dumb or they don't do sophisticated things in their real lives. There are a lot of engineers that follow basketball. There are a lot of businessmen that follow basketball. There are a lot of very smart people that watch the NBA. The thing is, you want to get a tap on your shoulder and for somebody to give you a golden star for knowing your field. Why? If you walk into some of the offices of these bankers, these engineers, these people that are into construction and all of those stuff, if they took you through a day of their work, you wouldn't understand a damn thing of what they do. Not a damn thing. And no one will expect you to. You may have a general knowledge of it, but for damn sure you're not going to understand it on a deep level at all. So why do you act like as if you're smarter than people just because you can explain a sport that you've been doing since you were a child? What is this? There's this misconception that NBA fans are stupid people in general, which is an ignorant position to take, is myopic and is short-sighted. I think JJ is getting to the point where he's beginning to nauseate people with his point of views because he's always bitching and whining about something. He's always upset about something, whining and moaning and complaining about why don't they do this way and why don't they do that way. JJ, you do your own thing and let it be your own thing. Stop trying to dictate to people and all of that stuff. You're not the smartest guy in the room. You're like, come on, stop. You play basketball. You weren't building rocket ships. You didn't build Tesla. You didn't build Amazon. You play basketball. My boy, cut it out with all of this. Like you're talking down to people and educating people. Like enough is enough. And I'm glad that Rob Parker pushed back on him because he's getting a little bit nauseating. There are other people that I'd rather listen to talk basketball and listen to you. I listened to a lot of Kobe Bryant talk basketball, and a lot of your points that you brought up about basketball over the years, you would get laughed out of the room if Kobe Bryant was sitting there next to you. He would turn around and look at you. For as smart as you think you are at basketball, there have been a lot of smart basketball minds that have said a lot of the you say is stupid. Jerry West, Dominique Wilkins, and a lot of other great players have said a lot of the stuff that you say is flat out ignorant. So help me figure it out. Are you the greatest basketball player? Are you the gatekeeper of basketball? Because there are a lot of guys within your profession that disagree with you vehemently. I'm just saying, these are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we catch you on the next show. Peace.